Right away, thanks for joining us here today and welcome to our paper presentation, From Cooperation to Collaboration, Sociological Insights into Digital Collaboration Platforms in the Automotive Value Chain. My name is Alexander Ziegler and I'm a researcher in the field of the sociology of work and industry. And I will present the paper which I wrote together with my colleague Dr. Eckhard Heidling, also from the ISF Munich. We are very delighted, I must say, to be able to have been given the opportunity to present here today, and special thanks to the community of the IEEE and the IAMOT to make this happen, and also special thanks to Dr. Thomas Holzmann, who has been instrumental in this. As Markus Schmidtner has pointed out already, our paper originated in the context of the HyValue-Projekt and focuses on the social dynamics of cross-company product development in one of the key sectors of the German economy, which is the automotive industry. This topic, as you might know from the press, is nowadays making headlines. The chip crisis is showing us how fragile cross-company cooperation can be and how essential it has become for the operation of our economy. In the automotive industry, it has led to production stops and delivery stops with negative effects for the entire ecosystem. And as of now, no end of these fluctuations can be expected in the foreseeable future. The HyValue-Projekt started 3 years ago, so this is before the pandemic, and our goal was to show in an exemplary way how cooperation in the sphere of product development can be improved in the automotive industry. Just a quick look on the agenda. We want to make 3 points today. First, we would like to build some more context and introduce you to the challenges cross-company product development in the automotive industry faces today. Second, we will outline our research design and method, and third, we will present the insights gathered for the development of which we call our concept for collaborative service work. If you look at vehicle development, and Mark Schmidtner already pointed this out, the first thing you have to realize is that vehicles are among the most complex industrial goods of our time. An average vehicle consists today of over 10,000 components. Depending on the equipment, it can have up to 100 electronic control units with over 100 million so-called lines of code. In addition, there are numerous quality standards, legal requirements, for example, emission limits, and safety requirements that must be met. In short, the planning, development, integration, and testing of all these components, modules, and systems is a highly complex undertaking. And now you might think the topic of improving cross-company product development in the automotive industry is challenging enough, but the challenge is even greater. In this respect, the demand for semiconductors that has become apparent in the chip crisis is also an important indication for far-reaching changes going on in the industry. Perhaps the biggest transformation in its history. In our view, three developments in particular are driving this change. The core product, the vehicle, is changing from electromobility to updatable software, operating systems, and autonomous driving. New competitors are emerging in the industry, from electro startups such as Tesla to tech companies such as Google or Apple, and semiconductor manufacturers such as NVIDIA. And new business models are emerging, from mobility platforms to car subscriptions and contract manufacturing of electric vehicles. Unfortunately, I cannot go into detail here, but all this means that the pyramid, which is emblematic of the value creation structure in the industry, the pyramid is cracking, and its future whether it will be stabilized again or whether it will crumble and new constellations will emerge, currently seems more open than ever. This is the background against which we were also operating in the HyValue-Projekt. If we take a closer look now, what this means for the sphere of product development, here especially digitalization is working as a key driver of change, accelerating innovation cycles and increasing the complexity of products, more integration of software and hardware, more digital networking, and so on and so forth. At the same time, however, digitalization also creates new conditions for managing this acceleration and increasing complexity in the value chain. Digital platforms in the cloud can provide complete and timely information to all participants of a product development project, as we've seen before, regardless of their company affiliation. And this is where we started with our HyValue-Projekt. Just one more sidestep. To understand the social dimension of cross-company product development, it is important to know how it evolved in the past. If you look at history, for a long time, most vehicle components were developed by the OEM themselves. Think of Henry Ford's Model T. This changed significantly with the triumph of lean production at the end of the 1980s. An important strategic core of lean production is a much closer cooperation between suppliers and OEMs in product development and the establishment of quality-oriented long-term partnerships. The proportion of development work carried out by a supplier has since grown steadily and currently averages round about 75%. And the relationships between the OEMs and the suppliers have improved a lot. But, and this is very important, the past continues to influence the behavior of companies and their employees. In sociology, we call this organizational path dependence. As our research shows, this becomes particularly evident whenever the projects do not run as planned. In that case, companies often resort to hierarchical measures towards their suppliers. And in the network, however, this can have unintended side effects. It can lead to information retention, inefficiencies, and reduce the overall flexibility in product development. The social dynamics of cross-company product development, therefore, are an important field of action if you want to improve cooperation in the value chain. And this has been a key consideration for the project as well as the paper that is presented here. Cross-company collaboration is not just a question of adequate tooling. How the tools are used in the actual work practice is at least as important. And probably all of you would agree with that. And this has also often been highlighted in research. We have investigated what constitutes this socio-technical innovations for our collaboration platform. And drawing on past research, we started out with the hypothesis that organizational practices and competency development among employees are key fields of action. Here you can see another visual illustration of our approach in the project. In an iterative process, we have built a prototype of a cloud-based collaboration platform, which has been illustrated by Markus Schmidtner before, to improve the exchange of information for all actors involved. And parallel to that, we have done research on the social dynamics and developed a concept for collaborative service work. We consider what we have done in the HyValue-Projekt, therefore, as an R&D lab for socio-technical innovations in which development and research are carried out simultaneously in an object-related, collaborative, and agile way. The basis for the paper is a qualitative, in-depth case study. We have gathered empirical data continuously On the one hand, through participant observations during the workshops for the creation of the platform prototype with all our stakeholders. On the other hand, through semi-structured interviews with managers and employees in automotive development projects, from OEMs to Tier 1 to Tier 2 suppliers. In total, we have conducted 34 interviews and 18 workshops over 3 years. This material has been evaluated in an iterative process. The interviews and workshops were transcribed and reviewed. Qualitative content analysis methods were applied, supported by software. And in doing this, we developed and refined a code schema to determine organizational practices and competencies for collaborative service work. The main findings can be summarized along 2 pillars. The 2 pillars of our concept for collaborative service work. The first pillar are the organizational practices. Our observations have shown that it is crucial to embed network scheduling and status management via digital platforms into adequate practices of work organizations. How do you do that? A central finding is the necessity of developing a jointly shared perspective on the product development process. For example, the respective synchronization points between the companies must be identified, and a common project management language must be created. Terms like project milestones or maturity levels can have very different meanings in different organizations, causing misunderstandings that can have far-reaching consequences for the projects. Secondly, it is very important to create suitable institutions for cooperation. Role concepts and rules of the game must be established for the platform. The questions at stake here are: what are mutual expectations for communication and interaction? What coordination is done directly? What coordination is done via the platform? And thirdly, it is important to keep in mind that the platform is breaking new ground in cross-company cooperation for all participants in the value chain. The development of the working environment is to be understood as an investment, as an ongoing process. It needs to be further developed in practice in a participatory manner with all participants. For this, reviews and feedback mechanisms must be built into project meetings and lived. It needs time to establish a cross-company workspace. All in all, these and other steps create the basis for trust to develop in the process, which is essential. It is essential so that the new information transparency in the product development process, enabled by the digital platform, is not seen as a threat, but as a common basis for proactive action of all actors. Only in this way, better decisions can really be made, the ability to react to unforeseen changes can really be improved, and the complexity better dealt with. The second pillar is the competency development of employees. The goal must be to develop employees into collaboration experts. What is this about? First, it's about creating a culture of innovation, and this also means a culture of failure. This is needed to develop an openness among employees to leave established paths, to learn and to approach each other differently. Instead of saying, we have always done it this way, it is about asking, how can we find improvements in our cooperation and mutually benefit from these changes? Secondly, it is important to intertwine IT tools and face-to-face communication. Informal exchange is not only necessary to strengthen trust as a working mode, it also enables experiential learning in the work process, building collaborative competencies and judgment among employees. And thirdly, Employees must be empowered to balance areas of tension in collaboration between line and project and between suppliers and customers. Functional departments provide technical expertise. Projects deliver prototypes. You probably all know this. Both tend to claim the primacy. For employees in inter-organizational working contexts, it is crucial to build integrative skills. Overall, it is about promoting a broadening of the employee's perspective through competency development. Instead of acting as employees in a network of individual companies in which each company sees itself as primarily responsible for itself, they can learn to take responsibility for the entire ecosystem. To leverage the potentials of innovation alongside the digital platform, adequate practices for work organization and the competence development of the employees must be considered. Taken together, they form the main pillars of our concept for collaborative service work, and to the extent that these pillars can be built up in cross-company product development, not only can the potentials of digital platforms be better leveraged, but also the work situation of the employees can be improved and their satisfaction as well. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope we were able to give you a good insight into the HyValue-Projekt as well as our paper in the time available. More information you can find in the paper and also on our project website. And now we're looking forward to your questions and later on to the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I can very much relate to what you're saying, not from the automotive industry, but from all the other projects that we see as a Bureau Gateway. In case you don't know or were not aware, in 2012, Dr. Pauline Voortman promoted at Erasmus, and she wrote a dissertation which the title Trust Works, and which really is about the human effects and why trust will or will not work, in particular because it's between people. So that might be an interesting entry point. And the other part is, you mentioned the different competencies that are of relevance, the technical expertise, the project management knowledge, and the generic collaborative competences. So my question then is, how will this impact the selection process of people or the engagement process of people into projects, or will it not at all? Or how is your recommendations going to get implemented?
So if I understood correctly the question, and I also know that there has been lots of research done already on the importance of trust in and knowledge work settings. And if I understood correctly the question, how will this be implemented in practice, which is always the key question to these projects. I think it's important to devise qualification programs which not only focus on technical knowledge, on project management knowledge, but also include these generative, collaborative competencies. I think every company is sort of needs to find their ways to do this and needs to find their ways to promote it. And in the paper we also proposed a few concrete measures, organizational measures that can be undertaken in companies with regard to promoting trust, which I haven't had the time here to present, which can also be very helpful and which can also be very actionable. And these are, for example, to determine the role of a trust master in a cross-company product development project. a trust master that is able, that has the skill sets, that needs to be qualified, that is able to understand how the balance of trust in a project is evolving and knows how to take measures to retain trust, to stabilize trust, and to create trust, and who has always this in view. Because in the daily work in project management project, this is the responsibility probably of the leader of the project, and he has so much to do, so many decisions to take, and he cannot do everything at all. This is one suggestion that we proposed, and there's a few more, but it's true. We need to formulate actionable proposals that can be implemented, and next month, or not the next month, in the next month, our final project publication will come out, and we will also include some of these over there, and hopefully make them available to companies and so on. But as said, companies need to qualify their employees, need to also value these competencies, need to incentivize these competencies. And this is something that, yeah, we propose to do. So, yeah, hopefully answered the question.
Yeah, it answers the question. Yet thereby opens another one, of course, because I saw the trust master, and then I wondered, okay, that's fine. That sounds like the typical sheep with 5 legs. He can do everything, the garbage cleaner and the magician. So how would I find it? So by saying put in this role, it also has a large implication, because of course the person needs to have the 21st century skills, but also have gain the trust of the partners in the network, which isn't coming out of the blue sky. So that makes possibly the selection of these people very thin?
Sure. I think the requirements for this role are very high, and therefore probably it needs to be very experienced people who have already earned the trust in the beginning. And I know this from Amazon, for example, when they do their hiring, they have this bar raiser process. I don't know if this if you are familiar with that, where they always have people that are very experienced accompanying the hiring process and teaching other people on what to look for in specific competencies in the people that are being recruited. And I think also the companies and the industry should at first start with experienced people and then try to formalize and teach and put younger people into these roles. But that's the way to start. I think that's a good suggestion also, yeah, to make this more concrete. Yeah.
Maybe also as an extension, we also have asked our project managers about trust, and we got very different answers from OEMs and suppliers. When you ask about trust, the OEM thinks, who can access information? How can we prevent that someone steals our concepts, our new designs, and so on, who gets information beforehand? While a supplier has a little bit different definition of trust. They think more along the lines of, can I be sure that you don't screw me over because your company is 10 times bigger, and I make an offer, I put in work beforehand, before we have an official contract. Will I still get payment afterwards, or is this a service I provide for free and you give the contract to another company? So we have to understand that trust means something very different for OEMs and suppliers, and that they have to meet somewhere with a common definition, or understand at least the position of both sides. So, just a small extension, sorry. But
Yeah,
it fits nicely with the open discussion,
and
thank you.
I think it's important also to understand the concept of trust, because trust is nothing that is guaranteed that if you do X, then you have trust. It's always fragile, it's always, you have to always reproduce it every day through your actions, through what you do, how you behave towards your suppliers, towards your customers, wherever. And yeah, this is why it's this dynamic social concept, but it's so important for knowledge work. Yeah. Thanks again.